Hello everyone, welcome back. Tonight I figured I'm going to dive back into the material design and XAML stuff. Want to poke at the 5.0 stuff. I've done a little work on it the last week or so, hacking on the new theme brushes stuff, doing some code generation with that. Would like to get it close to the point where the 5.0 branch is possibly going to merge. I have a 4.9 milestone sitting in the repo right now, kind of as a placeholder. I wasn't real sure whether there was going to be a 4.9 release or whether we were just going to hold off and all of that stuff was going to make it into 5.0. So still on the fence. We're going to see how far we get, see how it goes. Real quick, before we get too deep into it, let's jump real quick. So tonight's brain teaser, for anybody who didn't catch the image up on the pre-roll, it's a very simple one. There's a test. There are only 3 lines in this test. The goal is to make this test both compile and pass, but you are not allowed to edit the test in any way. So that's the task. It's rather fun. It's rather exciting. It absolutely abuses some of the async and await stuff, if you haven't figured that out just from kind of the fun syntax here of how it goes. But, and as the assert equals implies, this is probably not something you should do in your production app. This is a learning experience, not a guiding software principle. So for what it's worth there, let's jump back over. Oh, I also wanted to show this off. Last Thursday, Stephen Taub posted a absolutely amazing blog post. Now, there's a general rule of thumb when you're writing blog posts, and I don't remember what it is, like 2,000, 2,500 words. Somewhere in that range is, once you get over a certain length, your viewership drops off, right? Because if people wanted to read a book, they'd read a book. Blogs are generally not considered to be overly long. You can tell by the little scroll bar up here. Yeah, this is a long. Yeah, so this is not for the faint of heart. But if you are interested in knowing about how async and await really works, Stephen is potentially one of the best people to learn it from. And this write-up that he has done here is excellent. Absolutely excellent. The answer to tonight's brain teaser is technically inside of this blog post, but yeah, I won't tell you where, but it is in there somewhere. Yeah, it's a very long, take it in chunks, but if you really want to dive into the inner workings and understand how it goes, he does a really amazing job at kind of breaking down the history of how did we get to where we are today, why did we get there, and then how it works under the hood. It is absolute gold. Absolute gold. Okay, so material design and XAML stuff. That is, I suppose I could do this. Is there not an open branch on? Oh, I guess I can do it over here. Wait for anything. There's an open on GitHub. Where is it? Where is it? Delete, open. I want an open in browser. I guess I have to go up to the origin if you want GitHub. So if anybody does want to go and play with it, I have not pushed the solution branch for it yet, so that's to be determined, or that will be pushed in a little bit. It's sitting right there. It's just hanging out. It's waiting. It's a waiting. Okay. Oh, and I may go fix my .NET templates. I found arguably a bug with them earlier today, and I logged an issue to go back and fix it, and haven't done it yet. Anyway, okay, so color thoughts. So there is for those people who are unfamiliar, there is a 5.0 branch sitting out on the repo. It contains right now basically a bunch of removal stuff that's out there. And then I started slapping in on top of it this color thoughts of how are we going to do the new theme brush stuff. And I think we've narrowed it down. I think we've got a good path forward. So a couple things. One, the goal is to maintain the simplicity of the app, as well as to give people an easy migration path forward. So we want things like the bundled theme to continue to work. I want things like the custom color theme to continue to work. But I also want to allow people to, if they want to set their theme brushes this way, to have this work as well. The other thing that we are doing, because I am intending to rename, I think, every single brush in the library. Now, for some people, you may not care, right? If you're just using the styles and you don't have a lot of like dynamic resources pointed at the brushes, you're golden. This won't affect you. Don't worry about it. But if you've referenced like a bunch of the old ones, what the compromise that I'm doing is, I've got this guy here, is if you want to have both the old brushes and the new brushes loaded into your app so that you don't, or so that you can slowly work on migration, this will be an option for you. At some point, this will probably go away. But it's not a terribly difficult thing for me to support for now. So we're going to leave it. So it's worth noting the underlying stuff in the library is going to use all the new brushes. This is only needed for your dynamic or static resources inside of your apps. So that will be I figure a one-liner in the update notes for the 5.0 release is probably not terrible for people to do. Like, it's a major release. There's breaking changes. We're intentionally deleting a lot of old obsolete members, that kind of thing. Like, there is going to be some renames and breakages that occur. But I figured I can at least, one, document them well, because most of them are simple renames that should be straight find and replaces. But then I realized brushes are a major pain to deal with. I will leave both the mapping up, so if people want to do a find and replace, or I'll leave this in so that it can go through and work. How we are actually going to do the generation then is we've got this resource gen thing, and I have started building out this, and I think I did this a few weeks ago on a prior stream. There is this themecolors.json file, and I need to do a little cleanup in here, but the basic premise is this, is that we will have all of the brushes inside of here declared like this. And they'll be declared with, so they get a name, they have alternate keys, because oftentimes, even though we may want a whole bunch of distinct brushes, at the end of the day, even though we may have a bunch of distinct brushes, those are there for customization points, not necessarily because the library is going to define 85 different colors, right? Those are there for if you say, hey, I want all my card backgrounds to be, to use this alternate thing, great. Like, the library is basically going to use the one, but these are extension points that we can add in new brushes later, that kind of thing. But these are going to be the defaults, right? The other thing they could do is they could just be hard-coded RGB codes. So simple, easy, but you'll note they also have this obsolete keys so that I can generate what goes into that obsolete dictionary. So if we add stuff, remove stuff, hopefully this works for going forward to try to give people a backporting way of catching up to things. When we run this guy, and so let's set startup project here. So the other thing I did, and this is something I think people should be aware of. So inside of your C# projects, you can always do these launch settings.json files. You don't have to remember how to create them. If you just right click and go to properties, under debug, you can hit open this open launch profiles, and you can actually just define them here. When you define these, you'll see the launch settings.json file pop up and start filling in this information. But for people who prefer to work in a GUI rather than remembering JSON schema syntax and how to do all this, it's a nice, easy way to get here. So right click project, properties, debug, open debug launch profiles UI. So easy way to get in, but I've defined up a bunch of just command line args so I can easily change this drop down from generate brushes, swatches, icons, all that stuff. Boom, easy mode. So if we run the generate brushes, it might take a moment since I just switched into this branch. Whoop. So even before I could drag it over, the thing was done. Great. So what has it done? And it probably needs some logging output. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here I want to clean up. Whole bunch of stuff. Whole bunch of cleanup to do. Whole bunch of cleanup. But it gened a whole bunch of files for me. So files that it generated. So inside of here, it is going to have generated my, well, one, the obsolete brushes. So it gens up this for me, which is great. Ignore all the squiggles. So this is built and forwarding appropriately. Wonderful. That's what we want. It gens up my, where's it gens up the dark and light resource dictionaries for me. Perfect. That's what we want. It creates underneath, is it here? Yeah. So it creates this file here for this theme class, and this is going to be a breaking API change, because right now the object that you get back used to be an iTheme. The iTheme is gone. This is a partial class, and this part is probably familiar to some people, where there's a base theme and a dark theme. I might even go as far as to whack the base theme. This interface may die too. These interfaces aren't providing a lot of value, and I'm axing them wherever possible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's actually providing a lot of value. We may end up axing that as well. But the important part is this half of the partial is, with all of the colors in it, is auto-generated. You'll note it populates out. So I have a subclass here for card background. So this same, where is it? Yeah. So this key here, it goes through and strips off the prefix, knows that I want a card class, knows that I want a background property inside of that. So it goes through and goes, I got you. There's your card class. There's your background property. Leverages humanizer to pluralize it so that, check boxes yes rather than just slapping an S on the end of everything, so that all of this kind of flows nicely all the way through here. That way, when you go through and retrieve out one of these objects, all of these things are populated. The palette helper is probably about to die next, or it's one of the things that's about to die. And I think it's going to die. It's mostly going to be a rename, I think. But the get theme and set theme methods that exist in here, I need to clean up some of this, because some of this doesn't need to still exist. But a good portion of this down here, you'll note, is doing the load theme colors, which is once again a partial method. If we actually jump to the other half of it, you can see that it's generated out all of the loading of the colors out of the resource dictionary, and it's also populated it with fallback choices. So it's going to first look for something that contains background, then it's going to fall back to some of the old keys and go hunting for them. So, which makes it much cleaner in terms of trying to deal with all of this stuff. That way I don't have to think quite as hard as I used to, and in theory this should be somewhat backwards compatible. I think it's really unlikely we're going to run into a situation where somebody's defined their own, but I figured if I'm auto-generating this, I can be as crazy as I want to be. And then this guy here is the same thing. So the apply theme colors is now setting those brushes, which feeds us back over here. All the same stuff that existed before. I am noticing it's slapping color here, and I'm wondering if this should be dot color now. Good question. I'm wondering how valuable it is to even slap the color in. We'll consider it. This may just be adding noise that isn't necessary. The other thing is this causes a boxing operation every time because colors are struck. I'm not too concerned about it because we're already slapping stuff in, and this isn't the point of contention, but palette helper is probably going to get renamed into something a little bit cleaner since it's more like a theme manager at this point. We do have a theme manager. I'm trying to be cautious as well of the Control-ZX library because a lot of their naming overlaps with what I'm doing here, and I don't want to collide. I did look at what they were doing and came to the conclusion that it wasn't quite what I wanted. It wasn't quite there. So we're going this route. For better or worse, we're going this route. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. There's that. Okay. And then I decided I'm already in here generating code. Let's generate the tests too, because why not, right? If we're already gonna have the thing generated, let's test this thing to make sure that it works. So down inside of here, naturally, once again, being able to abuse partial classes is so wonderful. I built up a little helper here. So normally inside of this UI test where we use XAML test, this guy has a bunch of stuff in the base class for doing the initialization. So it's got these nice helpers I've written for, init your test with the material design library. Go ahead and start up a new window with some basic XAML. It'll wrap it up all in the nice stuff for you. Load it up, create a window with a user control. It's very convenient. The problem is these tests, I don't want any of that. Right, I'm intentionally trying to test the app.xaml portion of it. So what I did here is I was like, well, what I'd really like to do is I'd like to do an initialize and feed in the various resource dictionaries to start, and say, okay, here's what we're looking to get. Right, we want to verify that bundle theme works. So this is one test. I'm anticipating writing out one for each of those other cases. Including the obsolete brushes, just to say, hey, let's make sure all of these things work. But then the important part, I'll write out the condition, right? But I don't want to go through and assert on every single brush. That sounds like work. And why should I work when I've got something that's willing to write code for me? So naturally what I did is I was like, well, what I'd really like it to do is generate a large block of XAML that's some blind text blocks. And I cleaned up the text on them a little bit. And I intentionally use static resources here. Generally, you want to use dynamic resources for anything that could change at runtime. Your theme brushes, if you're going to allow your theme to change dynamically, you need to use dynamic resource, not static. But in this case, I intentionally am looking to cause failures if the brush doesn't exist. And this already caught some issues for me just as I was writing this first test to get it working. So this generates up the wrap panel, which is what gets passed in. Where was it? Inside of initialize. So that big wrap panel gets fed into this, and I wrap it up inside of an initialize. So I do the theme dictionary inside of an app.xaml bit, and then that wrap panel goes inside of a window. And then for the assert all theme brushes, I just did this. Right? And I ran through it. Why is this thing unhappy? Oh, interesting. It knows that this is auto-generated, and it's squawking because I flagged it as nullable. That's a good... Okay, let's fix that real quick. So this is something people sometimes forget about. Scoping in C# is roughly between your enclosing curly braces. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's close, right? In a lot of cases, the scoping of a variable is between the curly braces, and you can arbitrarily just introduce scope. And I didn't want to think about reusing things, and it was, especially when generating code, this was really easy. I could have refactored it into a method. That was easy. We did that. So I just ripped through that and said, you know what? We're going to do this. And so all it does is it goes and hunts out the text block whose text property matches the thing here. It pulls the app resource from that key and says, okay, I want to verify that these things match. It should probably also have an assert. This should probably be an assert, not null here on brush. I think it should probably assert that the brush is found. Let's clean these both of them up real quick. Okay, so this thing in here, it's got a whole bunch of stuff. Ooh, I should put this header on that file too. So this guy here, generate brushes async is the entry point, and then it just calls a bunch of other things. So generate theme brushes tests. And I think we're gonna go here, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this guy, and then what did I call it? Generated header. Boom. Slap that in. And then we want to turn on nullability. So I want to do, hey, Copilot, turn on nullability. I'm still convinced Copilot can listen to me. There was a whole bunch of cool GitHub Copilot stuff that got announced, I think, earlier today. It's like Copilot chat. I was seeing, yeah. GitHub. Yeah, this thing. I was seeing a bunch of chatter about it, and I haven't had a chance to play around and try it yet. It looks kind of cool. Because since ChatGPT came out, I usually have either ChatGPT open, or I will just use the new Bing chat here. And this is why I'm convinced that it's listening to me. See that? See. Now, admittedly, it's not a rocket scientist for it to realize when I pop this open that this is the tab I'm on, but still. Spooky. It is spookily accurate. But it's one of those, it's like, oh yeah, summarize this for me. Done. I can't decide if I hate this button or love it. I'm leaning on the love it side. I'm leaning there. I've seen a lot of people hate it. But here, if anybody's interested in checking. Like I said, I haven't actually had time to play or use it yet, but it looks really slick. And at a bare minimum, ooh, sign up for private preview. That sounds like something I want to save for later. That sounds exactly like something I want to save for later. Okay, nullable enable, blah, 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 blah. Great. Okay, gen me some brushes. Okay, and then there we go. So that goes away. Oh, I forgot the assert not null. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go back here. I may have gotten a little crazy with some of my variables. I wanted to be able to customize my indent randomly, and I probably should have just hard-coded it and called it a day. But you know what? I was paranoid at one point. Okay. So I wanted to do... Thank you for helping me with my indent. Now knock it off. Let's see. We want an assert not null. Hey, Razor Gods, fire away with the question. Okay, so we'll put that in. Regen. Should I use Linux or Windows? A very loaded question. I think I'll say it depends on what you're doing. Are you talking for like development, general use? Because there's pros and cons to both of them. I mean, you can see here I'm playing in a Windows environment right now. But I can't say Windows is the perfect solution for everything. It's a good solution for a lot. So a lot's going to depend on what you're trying to do. For example, there's a lot of dev tools that are just really written and built around Linux type stuff. There's a lot of repos that have bash scripts and whatnot. Windows does have the Windows subsystem for Linux. So if you play in Windows, you can drop into a Linux terminal, which for a lot of development tasks is all you need. Um, with that said, there's other things that are nice about it, like the Ubuntu stuff for like build agents and whatnot. Just runs circles around Windows, just absolute circles. And a lot of it's the difference because one's really heavyweight, the other's not. But Windows has a lot of features. So like I said, a lot of it'll depend on what you're wanting to do. If you're deving, I think it depends. Teach myself how to code program like database stuff. I don't know, a little of everything. Okay. So one more question then. So learning to code, what do you want to code? Like a lot of people will start off with asking like what language you want to work in or what framework. My usual recommendation to people is to say, come up with a little project or something that you want to build yourself. And then work backwards from there, because I've found that when people want to learn something, they're a lot more motivated to actually get it done. So my personal preference is C#, but I'm heavily biased, so take that with a big grain of salt. Oh, great. Sorry. Shameless self-promotion. Shameless self-promotion. I have to show thing. I teased this like 3 months ago. On the note of learning, if anybody is interested in learning C#, the Essential C# book series by Mark Michaelis, and hey, look, that's me, has been moving online. So I will warn you, not all of the chapters have been updated through C# 11. So some of the content doesn't have latest language features added into it yet, but this is a work in progress. We have put way too many development hours into a pipeline process so that we can go from editor, copy editor, publish out to site. Like, the number of hours that have gone into this is astronomical. I think if we realized how big it was going to be, we might not have bitten it off at the beginning. But there is all of this stuff in here. Very much feedback welcome. You'll note the feedback button ends up taking you just to the repository. The repository for the website contains the shell of the website, but it doesn't actually contain the content. So due to various contractual rules, the content, even though it's available for free on the website, is somewhat set up in a way that makes it somewhat difficult if you were trying to download everything, just due to publisher restrictions and whatnot. But if the website and what we've set up here, like I said, the shell of the website without the content is an open source repo, and feedback and everything is very welcome. We have a backlog that's sitting on a private repo, and this repo may end up moving. I think we were going to relocate it one more time. We've moved this repo around like 3 or 4 times. We've got too many orgs we're dealing with. But regardless, essentialcsharp.com will stay fixed, and the feedback button will always point to where you should go. So if the repo moves again, don't panic. You may not want to fork it yet. I'll just say that. But if you're interested in learning C#, there is a ton of great information. Again, I am a heavily biased source. I'm one of the tech editors, so yeah, I'm biased. But we have a bunch of stuff coming, and at some point we do want to get a client-side compiler setup, similar to how like on the Microsoft Learn docs you can have like the run my C# snippet right here in the browser. We've got a proof of concept of that done, and we would like to get that plugged in here as well, and all kinds of stuff. So stuff is coming, stuff is going, things are changing rapidly on this. We've got a small team of people working on things. So again, if you're interested in learning C#, I definitely recommend this. If you are learning, so going back to your question, Razor, as far as what you should use, what I would say is find a project that you want to work on or an idea of something that you want to build. I would use that to let it drive kind of what language and framework type stuff that you want to use. If you end up picking C#, I recommend Windows because most of the tools that have been around for C# started, like, even though C# is cross-platform, you can run it on Mac, Windows, Linux, whatever. The tooling support for Windows has been around longer, so it has more maturity. With that said, people use VS Code to, like, I've got colleagues that use it for their day job and do just fine. I personally like all of the fancy stuff that's in Visual Studio. That's a preference. There's also things like JetBrains Writer that is another tooling option that runs cross-plat for, like, I don't know if they have a Linux port, but I know it runs on at least Mac and Windows. And I have a bunch of colleagues that love that as well. So start with a project that you like. Let that guide kind of the framework tech stack that you want to build out. People will have a lot of opinions about what language people should learn first. My opinion is you should pick one of the big ones, like one of the big popular ones, and go from there. Now, what's big and popular is a little bit debatable, but Stack Overflow Survey 2022. When in doubt, yeah. There's ever a question of what's big and popular. Anything that lands on this list, this, like, if you get down below, like, I would tell you to stay out of probably the single digits of percentages. Kotlin and Rust are probably okay. Once you start getting further down, things start to get a little more interesting. If you decide that you want to build iOS apps, obviously Swift is a very reasonable choice. So sometimes you got to take a little bit of this with a grain of salt, because this is technologies without regard for target platform or what you're building. But something in the top part of this is probably reasonable as far as starting to learn stuff. For things like database, the two big options are going to be either a SQL-based one or a NoSQL, as basically the two options. I think, like, if you go NoSQL, Mongo is going to be quite popular as an option. In the .NET tech stack, we usually go with, like, Cosmos DB. So I don't know if that's helpful. I hope that is, but that's usually what I would tell people. Again, if you ask me to recommend something, I'm going to tell you to pick Windows, pick C#, and for your database, I would tell you to use Entity Framework Core, back it with, like, either SQLite for easy local learning stuff, or maybe like Azure SQL is another good choice, because free tier, because if you're just looking to get out and start learning, you can end up, and even regardless of what language you land on, this might be a reasonable resource to take a look at. Azure has the crack dealer style pricing, where the first bit is free, but for people who are just starting out and learning, like, the free resources aren't enough to run a production business on. But for a single dev wanting to learn stuff, they're usually quite sufficient. So being able to go through pulling out, like, an Azure SQL database, if you want to practice going against something like that, you've obviously got Postgres, MySQL as other options. There is a Cosmos, or was that hidden under table storage? Where is the Cosmosy one? There's a Cosmosy thing in here too. I'm trying to see where it is. More. Personalizer, Key Vault, Cognitive Services. There. Azure oh, sorry. These ones up here. These were the free for 12 months, wasn't it? Yeah. Free for 12 months. Scrolling down. Always free. So Cosmos DB, 1,000 requests per second with 25 gigs of storage. Always free. For somebody who's starting out who wants to practice working with a NoSQL style database, that's an easy win, in my opinion, to go through and play with it. Trying to see, I thought they had an Azure SQL option down here as well, but they might just be pushing for Cosmos. Cosmos, I will warn you too, if you're looking to learn database stuff, Cosmos is a funny one, because it can, unlike a lot of databases, it can take different front ends, and so you can set Cosmos up to run in SQL. You can have it run and talk to it with Mongo. And so it's kind of this weird thing where you can interact with it in a bunch of different languages. So it's one of those, it is a global scale database. It is a NoSQL database, but again, you can talk to it with a SQL front end so that your code doesn't necessarily have to think too hard about, changing my mindset out of NoSQL into SQL. So hopefully all of that's helpful. Like I said, happy to help guide if you've got more specifics. Like I said, if you were to ask me to just blindly recommend something, that would be the path I would head down. Okay, so there's the test. There's that. Okay. I think that gets me back to where I wanted to be. Theme tests. This is all generated. That looks better. I think I want to run this test really quick just to make sure it passes. It passed the last time I ran it. Where'd my test window go? My test window launched and I saw it flash and then it's over there. Test window. Stay. This is the problem. I have multiple monitors and occasionally I lose things. Okay, so that worked. It does mildly concern me that my test may be wrong because all of the colors all appeared black. But I can see it ran through all of them, pulled them all out, did the checks on all of them, so it's... I might want to just pause it, and we're going to pause it real quick and just turn off the debugger. So we're gonna do a little test here with Snoop. Just it's not that I don't trust my own work. I just don't trust my own work. Okay, so this guy should fire up. Boom, hit my breakpoint. Good. Okay, so that's paused at the breakpoint. And now we take Snoop and we go, hey, Snoop. Because the fact that I see one red rectangle and no other rectangles kind of worries me. Okay, so background. Yeah, see, that's what concerns me, is every single one of these things is the wrong brush. So it launched. Okay. That's not good. In case it's not obvious, that's not what that's supposed to do. Okay, so the other thing we can do is we can come up here and we can go a little spelunking through the resources. So this is a wonderful thing in Snoop. So you can actually grab the... well, that was weird. That was very weird. Oh, it's sitting on top. Oh, it's topmost. That's why it's... Oh, Snoop. Hang on. Let me turn off. Where is the enable topmost? Save and close. I think that gets it to be not topmost anymore. Okay, that's not quite what I wanted, but okay, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. You can use, there we go. you can use the application tab here to then go hunting through all of your resource dictionaries that got loaded in. So you can see that this first one here has 151 resources, and then there's the generic and the default. So these ones are all of our styles and whatnot. This guy has the interesting bits. So for example, this thing is set up, and I want to see your color property. Okay, that's non-zeros. That's zeros, that's zeros, that's zeros. So these brushes are all set, but they're all set to zeros. Okay, and I think what we've set is that these things, we probably should add something to these tests to make sure that all these brushes aren't duplicated values, because that is incorrect. So that is not working. So the problem one, the test is going green when it really should be red. So we should probably add something to the test to make sure that it that it actually fails. I think what I want to do is something like hash set color, I don't know, scene colors gets new, right? And then something like assert true, scene colors add brush color. All right, so the add method on a hash set returns a bool indicating whether the item was added. And because hash sets go off of the hash code, duplicate values won't get added to them. So they can be a great way to get yourself to a distinct set. They're also a great way to check if something's there. So if this returns true, it means the item, or I'm sorry, I have that backwards. False if the item is already present. Oh, right. So assert true that the item was added. Okay, we got it right. I think what we want to do then is add a message that's something along the lines of contains a duplicate theme color. Add the theme brush to the what was the name of that alternate keys to the other brushes alternate keys in theme colors.json. So I just like writing the code like this so that I can kind of get a grasp of what I'm writing, and then we go back over here to, let's see, close U. So this is the, we don't care about the wrap panel one. This is the method we care about. Is your what's being iterated. Okay. And this is where we want the assert. And we want this guy to go here. And I want that. And then I want this guy to be the brushes.name. That goes here. And yeah, the rest of that should be fine. And then we just need to add up above. We want to do the double indent here, and then we want to declare a hash set there. And then that should work. Okay, gen me some new code. One of the other things I'm hoping to get to is actually setting up some MS Build properties so that these things, I'm still on the fence whether I should check in these .g files or whether I should let them be auto-gen. I'm kind of leaning towards auto-gen. it does make them harder to find on like GitHub or something. So it's like maybe I should leave those in place. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's that, there's that, there's that. Let's go back to our test. And then, okay, so this test, we're going to turn off this breakpoint. We're going to just run it because the test should now hit that assert and fail. So in general, I like to see my tests go red before beating them into submission and having them go green. So in an ideal situation, that's what we're looking for. Tests. Okay, good. And hopefully it airs with the... Okay, we should probably actually also add in the bad color. Contains a duplicate theme color. We're gonna put the dupe value in here as well. What's the easiest way to go and grab? There's a way. I think if I just do toString, it works. So let's we're gonna go here. So this is where it's gonna get weird. We're inside of a string literal with double dollar signs here to make the double curly braces our interpolated values. And in this case, we want to actually have this string itself be an interpolated string. So this actually is going to end up being that. It starts to get really fun when you use these string literals to write code that contains other string literals. Round and round and round you go. Okay, so that should compiles. Good. Let's run it. I just want to look at the error. This is one of those very rarely used skill sets of writing good error and log messages. I was actually mentioning this to a colleague the other day that a prior employer that I worked at didn't usually like to hire entry-level devs. What they like to do is promote from their QA and testing department. Yeah, that looks better. And promote them into the dev roles, because people who had to spend time looking at logs, helping other people diagnose problems, were very likely to be conscious of those problems and not implement them in code. So at the time, it seemed weird. The longer I've been doing this, the more I think there's... I don't think it's a good principle to say we aren't going to hire devs. We are only going to promote from QA, but I don't think it's a bad idea either. Like, the people who have had to spend time doing that are very conscious of making sure that their error messages are good. So every time I've tried to just get myself in the habit of, every time I don't have enough information from an error message and I have to go back to like a breakpoint to look it up, I try to think about, okay, what should the error message have been to give me enough information? So in this case, this is enough information to tell me, okay, it thinks that foreground light has a color of 00000. That's not true. And that means there is something else wrong when we do the set theme. So we want to track that down now, because in this case, we are using the bundled theme, and the bundled theme does not have all the stuffs. So before we get too carried away, I'm going to just add, when using built-in light XAML theme dictionary, I'm going to just do this to start because I want to see this work. And then we'll, because I have a hunch I know what's falling apart here. But I want to see the most basic of basic work, and then we'll work backwards into the solution. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so this is what I want to see work, is this guy here. We're going to come back over here to our theme test. This is what we want to see work right there. Nothing fancy at all. Okay. I want to see this guy launch because I have a suspicion this one will actually see a bunch of, because what I want to see is a bunch of colored boxes. Like that's what we're going for. Bunch of boxes with color. Okay. See, that looks a lot better to me. Not perfect, but it looks a lot better. Okay. You move to the side. Stay. Continue. Okay. You failed. Yeah. Okay, so this may be a legitimate failure. Okay. Because I think I made a mistake and added a bunch of brushes when I should have done it otherwise. So this one will actually clean this up. Okay, so this is perfect. This is perfect. We're going to get this test working, and then that will clean up. This is why we write tests. This is why we write tests. Okay, so the one in question that it flagged was, hey, stop scrolling. I'm going to go get the other. Darn it. Okay, fine. Where's my other test window? You come back. Sit. Stay. Good boy. Stop scrolling. I just want to highlight. Okay, so let's come back over to my JSON file. Boom. Okay, so this one here. Oh, interesting. So it's genning. It's genning this for the test. Do I care? I think I should be more intelligent with the test. Rather than blindly doing this assertion. Oh, because this guy takes in the... This guy gets the flattened set of brushes, doesn't he? He does. He does. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we should not pass this in, and we should do something a little more intelligent. I think what we're going to do is we're going to pass the brush tree in rather than the alternate brush tree. So there's two ways to approach this. This one here builds up. So the brush tree is basically the JSON file as it sits. The alternate one is where it inverts it and selects every alternate key gets a duplicate object instance with these values in it. That way the rest of the code can just for each and doesn't need to think and deal with like pulling those apart. But in this case, I think we want to be smarter about it. So this guy here, oh, look at that. I can't spell. We'll deal with that problem real quick. Spelling. So I almost want this as not a local function. And maybe what I should do is let all the other ones do it. Yeah, I think I'm going to move this out and make this an alternate thing. We're going to do this. I'm wondering if I should actually overload this and do an IEnumerable. I think this is what I actually want to do. And then I think I move this guy back inside as a local function. C# has local functions, which is awesome. And then we go back up here, because this guy was just doing a select mini on it. So then this guy just returns, let's rename this, it's a bad name, brushes. Return brushes, select mini, get alternate brushes. And then rather than building it up once, it's a little wasteful, but we will just make each alternate one do it. Brush tree. And then we'll have each of these guys be intelligent about what they're doing. So where do you use it? Right, tree item brushes. So we'll just have you get all alternate brushes. He'll just feed that in, and that'll work great. What is your problem? Tree item. Why do you need the tree item? Because you iterate on children. Why do you have children? Right, that's right. Because it builds those up. Got it. That might be a little more problematic. What was the return type of that thing a second ago? I'm wondering if because I was calling build brush tree as the input. Okay, let's back this out a little bit. I think what we can do, let's do this. We're gonna do that. Because this guy is taking a tree item, but I don't think he cares. I don't think he matters. If I convert this to an IEnumerable, I don't think he cares. So tree item is my own class. It's a basic tree structure. Has a set of values, set of children underneath it. Effectively, each level of this tree, you can think of it as if each of these dots were a nesting level. So all the ones that are under material design are under one direction, then all the brushes. And then, for example, brush.card, all the card ones end up together, which is how it ends up doing the grouping when it's generating the C# nested classes. Which is what that all represents. But in this case, this guy goes here. Yeah, so this guy is going to get this in. And this thing really just wants to do... Wait, is that going to be a problem, though? Because the enumerator iterates over the values and the children. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that's a problem. Okay. Sorry, I have to remember how my own code works. Which is probably an indication that it's not great code. So this is going to get all alternate brushes. Okay, so this guy here, we want to be a little more explicit. Because we want to pull each brush. Oh, but if we try to mutate this thing, because what I really would like to do is I would like to only do the hash set based on the top level item and not the alternate ones. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So what would that end up looking like? So the top level one would mean we would do this work for the top level one. And then I would want, for the given brush, I would want to do almost the same thing. I would want to do almost the same thing, but not with its alternate keys. Yeah, because the keys aren't going to build brush tree. So I'm trying to remember how this gets set up. Iterates through, breaks up the container parts. These are all based on the name. Yeah, so these are based. Okay, so this is fine. Which is perfect. But in my case, none of that matters. Because all I really care about is to iterate over the alternate keys. Yeah, so here what I want to do is I want to go for each of our alternate key in brush alternate keys enumerable.empty. So in this case, we do have nullable reference types turned on. And in general, what I tell people is if it's serializable, it is probably nullable. It's really hard to find a use case where it's not. And then we don't care about that. We don't want that. Do I have double semicolons at the end of that? I do. That's just dumb. Feels like I should be able to use some of this. Yeah, we won't worry about it. We won't worry about it for now. To do lots of... Should probably separate out, reuse some strings, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's look at the test that it genned up now. That should have done better. So for example, this guy here adds in the scene colors, but the alternate one, it doesn't bother to. Oh, I didn't swap out the brush. That's why it looks duplicated, because it is duplicated. So this is alternate key. So what we want then to do is brush gets brush with let's see, name gets alternate key. Because we basically want to do the same thing that we were doing down here. Alternate keys gets null. Let's see. We want to do that, and this should probably not be a var. So we can leverage the new with keyword because these are records. I can easily clone them and just mutate the properties I care about. And all of that just works. So let's try that one more time. See what the test looks like. There we go. So it generated the background. The background one has the hash set check. It generated the alternate key one, no hash set check, then moves on to the next one. Okay, so given that, this probably still fails, but it should fail on a different one than it did last time. Which is what we're going for. Okay, expected true was false. Checkbox disabled. Yeah, this is one where I think Kevin was dumb and duplicated it. So let's go and look at checkbox disabled. Because I have a suspicion if I go a looking. Let's see. Boom. Checkbox disabled. Oh, I wonder. I don't. Whoa, man, I can't do this duplicate check, can I? Suck. That's disappointing. Sorry, what I'm noticing is that the duplication isn't across a single brush. As you'll note, in this case, it's 700, 700, 700, 300. Well, that just bites. Okay, so we should probably abandon that. Okay, so let's look at what did we do in the resource gen. Do we need any of these changes? So discard. Discard. We'll put all of this back. No, we'll leave that out. Those are all fine. That's a spelling fix. That's the auto gen stuff, which we want. This we don't want anymore. This we don't want anymore. We still want the null check on the brush. I don't want that. And I don't want this. And that can stay out here. Okay. Rerun. Oh, what did I mess up? Oh, hush. Oh, this, I got a little too carried away with my deletions. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So this may actually be in a working state. I just don't know a good way to put the other one into a failure state. So I might just have to abandon that for the moment and accept that it's going to be passing. So both of these probably show green, but one of them probably doesn't have a bunch of different colors to it. Yeah. In reality, I should probably have this thing be asserting on the brush values. Should probably be a different test. Should probably be a different test. But for now, I want to track down why the other one's not working properly, and then we'll circle back to the other problems. Okay, so the one that's not loading properly is the bundled theme. So let's go here. And I have a feeling I broke this fairly recently. Because it should come in here. It should hit apply theme. Apply theme should call set theme. Set theme should come in here. These should get applied. Everything should work. That's the theory. That is the theory. And so let's, I want to turn on the debugging so I can debug the other half of this. Not that. I want the base class. Debug the remote process. True. Debug. Get me over to the other side. Okay, so apply theme resources. Let's start with this. Do we have the theme loaded that we expect? Because I kind of suspect the answer is no. It's the value of theme. So that has a bunch of stuff in it. And they're all set there. Let's go into here. All right, like theme background. All of these seem... The theme values are incorrect. These are basically all white or all black. So something has gone horribly awry. How did we get the theme object? Where did you come from? Passed in from the caller. Chase it up the call stack. Theme create. Ah, this is probably the issue. I'm guessing get base theme. Theme dark, theme light. Yeah, see, these are the ones that I kind of want to kill off, or at least auto gen. But I thought these were auto genning. Oh, these are auto genning, but these aren't the right thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the way this works. I think we're gonna kill off iBase theme altogether, because it doesn't serve. Because the only purpose of the iBase theme. Okay, yeah. So we're just gonna axe some stuff real quick. So this guy here, what this really needs to be is not this. I want the following method to work. We're gonna start here because I want this to really just be base theme. Yeah. And most of these things are probably about dead now. Yeah, because this code is gonna end up dying. Okay, so this is the code that I want to work. We're just gonna keep going. Set base theme. I want an overload of this that that just works. Okay, we're gonna file scope that namespace while we're in here because that's what I do. Let's see. So we're gonna do something like switch on the enum. Hey, Copilot, write all the code for me. Make me write code, Copilot? How dare you? Yeah, that. Can you put the break statement in for me? Thank you. Thank you. And the default. We're gonna do default. Thanks. No, default, we're just going to do nothing. Because if it says inherit, we just don't want to change it. Okay, so if we come into here, what I think I want to do is on this guy, this needs to become a partial. And then we're just going to abuse partial methods again, I think. Because I think what I want is a public static void set dark theme. This theme, turn that off. And I think I want that. Let's see. Partial method must have an implementation. It will hush. I think we're going to do that. And I think technically I've been doing these things in the other order. Not that it's a big deal, but set light theme. Theme. Set dark theme. Theme. Okay, so that's what I want to work. I want all this code to work. And then my test will be in a happier place. Then we can obsolete this method and kill it. But so in order for this to work, we need to generate up this theme mixins class. Let's look at where it lives first of all. Show me your spot. Okay, so you're right alongside theme. So we come back out of here and go here. U collapse. Generate theme class. Copy paste. Generate theme. Mixins. I think we started standard. Did we standardize on mixins? Yeah, I think we're going to be renaming this. Yeah. Theme. While we're in here, I think we're gonna just standardize on extensions and call it a day. Hello? Didn't I just rename you? Okay, we'll do it here. Yes. Don't think, do what I told you. Okay. Yeah. So I want a partial get theme extensions. And then trying to think of so I want to think about what's the code that I actually want to set here, right? So what I really want to do is I want to iterate through theme, like background gets what's the lowest cost way to create a color? What is the lowest cost? I assume it's constructor is probably the lowest cost. Because I could go from RGB, but is this just a convenience thing over the color? Yeah, I'm wondering, is the constructor... You know, from ARGB might be the cleanest approach. So we'll generate a bunch of calls like this. Yeah, so 0x00. So we'll do something like so we want to iterate over all of the brushes and we want to do this maneuver. Okay, simple. Okay, so we want to generate set dark, set light theme brushes. And we want it to be very similar to this, so we're gonna just copy that one and generate theme extensions class. Okay, and this is going to be theme extensions.g.cs. At some point, I'm gonna do some MS build work so these get nested and kind of hidden away from people since I don't want them touching them. Okay. So step one, we need to make sure our namespace is correct, which it should be. And then we're going to do this guy. And we're going to go here. And I generally like to let the other half of the partial drive the access modifier. The generation shouldn't care. It's just its job is to generate one thing and one thing only. I don't think I want this. Let's see, what is this doing? Write tree item. Yeah, so I do want to iterate through this thing. I don't know if I actually care, though. I can kind of just rip straight, can't I? I think what I can do is... I don't need to go through the children. I think I can just go straight iteration over all of it. Because I think what we can do is rather than doing this type of stuff here, we can... We'll do a a write method. What were we calling it? They were called set something. Write set theme method. Set theme method. We'll do that because I basically want to do the same thing for light and dark and go crazy. So here, what we want to do, we don't need this iteration garbage. Very bad practice, I would say. Sup, Andrew? Sorry, my chat's a little delayed. You want to give a little context? Okay, so I don't want to deal. I don't think I want any of this garbage. Okay, so let's write the method that I actually want. I want to pass in all of the brushes. I want the writer. The indent level is probably a meaningless thing for the moment, but we're gonna leave it until I have a reason to change it. So in this case, we're already inside the class. Technically our indent level starts at 1 in this case because we want to indent 4 spaces. And then I want to implement this method here. It's functionally what we want. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Stop it. Need more Mountain Dew to think straight. Okay. So the let's see. So the first thing is, I guess we just start with writer, right line, and then we're going to go with the newer stuff because reasons. And then we're going to do 2 levels of interpolation because we're going to have curly braces here. So step 1, we want this guy as the first bit, and we want to prefix it with an indent. I'm very close to just going and grabbing an indented stream writer. Very, very close. Let's see, and then that becomes that with a curly brace. And then just so that we don't forget about it, somewhere at the end of this, we're going to end up doing the opposite curly brace because we're going to need that. That's way too much stuff to write a single curly brace, but I'm not sure if I need more stuff yet, so we're going to wait. And then we want to rip through all of the brushes and generate out something that looks kind of like this. So let's just go for each brush in tree item. Brush, I want to see my type. And then let's go with paste. And that up. And then we want to do this ugly mess here. So theme will be fine. This is going to end up needing to be the name of the brush's property path. So that is going to be property name, I think. Yeah. So we want that. Oh, I jumped the wrong place. Brush property name. Color should be fine, though we're going to be lacking a using statement. We need to make sure we put that into the partial up above. Oh, we've already got it. Great. Great, great, great. And then we need to pull out the brush's color. The problem being, this guy may not know his color. That is an interesting problem. He may not actually know his color. Because at the end of the day, these colors are defined, like even though these things are set up, They may be an RGB value. They may not be. They may be a resource key, and I need these things to stay in sync. So in code, if I want to pull these things out, what's the easiest way to get at them? Because ultimately, these things are kind of fixed. They're kind of fixed. Right, so where's the file that has them? There's this guy. This guy has all the magical things. I'm wondering if I need to move some of this so that I have access to these values elsewhere. Because the fact that this isn't easily accessible is kind of a problem. Or is it? It's kind of a problem because at the end of the day, for people who don't want to go the XAML approach, need to be able to pull the color values directly. I'm wondering if it makes sense to gen these, because right now this is just a file I put together. I could also, I'm kind of wondering about just making a class here for it. Like, I'm kind of wondering about just doing this. That might be easiest. That might be easiest. Okay, we're going to do coding by regex. Coding by regex is what we're going to do. What I did, so copy. There we are. Let me just move this real quick to make sure, because I don't know what I'm on real quick. There. Okay, so be big. Okay, so step 1, turn regex matching on, match white space, any number of repetitions from the beginning of the string, replace with empty. Okay, so that flattens up all of those. We want to now match x colon key equals quote paren match any character that is not a quote, some number of repetitions, close paren quote. That's our key. We ultimately want this to turn into public color, and I think all of these are valid names, so we'll just do $1 public static read only color gets, can we just do, I just want to check this real quick because I think what I want it to become is foo gets, import the type for me, please. Thank you. New color from ARGB, and then I just want 0x blah 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 blah. So that's what we're aiming to implement right there. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So color gets 1 gets color from ARGB like that. Okay, so then we need to match over to here. So we're gonna do anything, pick it all up until you hit color equals quote pound, and then I want to match the first character exactly 2 repetitions. And we're going to just object group this. So we don't care too much. And we want to repeat this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll match any character, any number of repetitions, all the way to the end of the line. Just so we clean that mess up. And then start a line. That. Okay. So each of those lines are going to match. We're going to come into here. This is going to become 0x $2, comma 0x, right? Because it's ARGB, right? ARGB. Good. So we're doing this in the right order. 0x $3, 0x $4, and 0x $5, close paren, semicolon, replace all. Oh, I got next to closing paren. So undo. We go here, semicolon, try again. That's pretty good. Copy, paste. And that right there we call regex coding. I'll take it. Actually, I can probably answer it. The resource dictionary functionally is, so this there's no reason for this not to be. It's under an internal namespace, so that should hopefully give people some pause before they do anything crazy. Okay. So then that means that makes this generation a little bit easier. We're going to need a little bit of logic here. Because it either is going to match, it's either going to match one of the other one. It's either going to match one of these names here. Let's put the using statement in. So, boom, that goes there. So we will do if brush dot, what is it, value, theme values. We need to put the theme in. String value gets like that. So if value dot starts with that guy, string comparison ordinal. Don't do anything fancy to me, please. So if it starts with a pound, we can do it. We can do this maneuver. Else we're gonna do the. Let's put you up here. Else we're gonna do this. So this then changes to become base theme colors. Dot value. Boom. So that goes like that. That goes like that. Let's indent these a little bit. Maybe one more. Okay. So that handles that half of it. The other one up here, if it starts with this, let's just do color. They're a color parse, or am I just crazy? Seriously? Oh, do I have to go through the type converter if I want to come from string? That is a little annoying. I either have to parse the values or I have to go from the type converter. Oh, yeah. Type converter. No. Type descriptor. Get converter. Right? What is the type of color? Convert from string value. There. I'm too lazy to think too hard on this. Let's see. This is going to become let's see. Oh, and this needs to be a hard cast because it returns object. Unbox in a possibly null value. Yep. I get it. No. Let's see. A. And this, I believe it's x2 is the format string we want. Doing this from memory, so we'll see how it works. Let's see. AR. It's getting really long and my fat head's about to get in the way. RGB. Okay, something like that. We get rid of this. So it does some sort of generation like that. Let's run it and see how close we are, because first one never works. Unknown theme. Oh, because I just passed an empty. Okay, yeah. So if you pass empty string, it's not a theme. Let's see. String theme. So we're gonna do, I don't know, light first, I guess. Go. We'll do dark. Two birds, one stone. Theme. Two lower invariant. That should work. Try again. Rinse, repeat. Okay, well, it did something. Theme extensions, take me to your spot. There's the generated class. So, okay, so not bad. It got most of what we wanted. It did not appropriately generate out the entire property pattern path. That is okay. That is okay. I think if we look at one of these other ones, I already did that work. I think it was the resource dictionary one. Apply theme colors, I think does it. Let's see here. Get resource keys. Let's just look at the generated code. Yeah, so I want to look at the load theme colors method. Load theme colors. Property prefix. So I did this maneuver. So we want to do something where we write it out and have a prefix that starts like that and then gets tacked onto. Got it. Got it. Understood. I remember what I did now. Okay. It's the one above it, not the one below it. collapse that extra space. So down here, we want to have, nope, not what I told you to do. Do that. Okay, property prefix goes there. And these ones are both going to start with theme dot. That way it can slowly add on to it as we go. So those ones go there. This then becomes more curly braces. Property prefix. And then what did we do here? So it's property prefix, property name. Great. And then we iterate over children and recursively call and do that. Okay, so we come up here. We can probably just drop this garbage and drop all pretenses of indentation because we aren't going to use it. Okay, so this is going to be recursive in. So this needs to iterate not over brushes, though. This needs to iterate over values. Yeah, tree item dot values. So I actually want to do this. Let's see. Tree item dot values. And then rather than doing something funky, we want to do this. After we've done all the values, we want to iterate over the children, and the children want to call into here. This is going to be problematic because I only want the inner stuff being recursive, not everything. And this for each needs to be below the values call. So this little bit I want to bring into a function. Let's bring you down here. Right. Tree item. Boom. So I want to do this maneuver into here. I want right. Oh my word. Thank you for helping, but that's not helpful. Just duplicate this string. I'm not real concerned about it. Oh, string allocation. Even in a recursive method like this, it's not going to be huge. This here string is causing me grief. I'm just trying to keep track where I'm at. So I don't want that. I don't want that. I do want child.name. We want to append that, and we want to pass theme. But I think we're going to drop the two lower here and have the caller do that. Because we're going to go up here, write tree item, writer, theme to lower invariant. And we can actually take this out of here. So we don't need it here. That doesn't need to exist. Clean that up a little bit. Only pass what you need. Okay, so that goes there, that goes there. This one, this is doing the theme dot because it's declaring it there. That sets that up. This comes in. This is recursive. This will iterate over the children. Get rid of all the dead white space. We'll generate, and it'll work flawlessly, and everyone will be happy. And that will make me very excited. Well, we got closer. Oh, yeah. Well, this isn't quite right. Flat click. I do wrong here. Okay, so let's... Where's the... So this should have been buttons.flat click. Why did I only get some of these? Oh. Wait, what? Very awkward. Okay, I think we're going to rerun here in a minute after we fix this first bug. Because this is child name pluralize. Because that really should be the generation there. Okay, so that should go there. Huh. That surprises me that I must have missed something here. Oh, because I've got... Okay, so there's a couple things going wrong here. It's going to be one of the problems. Fix the problem you can see and then deal with the one you can't. Always fix the problem you can see first. Okay, so this thing is not iterating the way I expect. Why you no do what I want? Why you no do what I want? Okay. Theme extensions. I mean, let's just debug it, I guess, and jump in. Right? Yeah, so launch with debugging, and let's step and see what's going on. Okay, so we come in here, that much is fine, that much is fine. Our tree item has 4 values, 14 children. That's fine, we'll step in here. We iterate over the 4 values, great, great, great. I'm a little surprised. Wait. Huh? Shouldn't I be seeing this writer writing this out? Oh, I guess I don't have auto flush turned on. I shouldn't expect to see it in the fly. Okay, that's... So we got through there. It's very... So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is where then we get lost in the weeds. Right? Okay, so there it's done. Now it should go into its first child. Okay? This is the child of card. So the property fee should be theme cards dot. Right? So we go in here. Property prefix is themes.cards. It finds the brush. The brush value is white 100. It comes in here, and I only put the property prefix implemented in one place, and that's the problem. I am a moron. Excellent. See? Little debugging is all it takes. And then a sip of Mountain Dew to fix the stupid. Okay, now we got something a little prettier. Okay, so aside from wanting a little bit of white space there, it's pretty close. So we're gonna do a right line right in the middle there, and just to make it a little cleaner to look at, even though this is generated, I want it to be legible. Okay, so all of this so that the base theme stuff works as expected. Okay, so we were dealing with a test in yield days. Let's see. Bundled theme. right? Because this guy was going to come in here, and this guy was not going to call get base theme. In fact, we are going to, well, assuming this works, we're going to just go through and axe all that here in a minute. But this guy now becomes much simpler. You just pass the enum in. And I think that works a lot better. These two things die. We don't need any of the fancy references and all of that stuff. This is gonna be a mess, but whatever. I think it's much cleaner to just work with that directly rather than having to do lookup stuff. Let's go back to the test then really quick. And I want to see, when using this guy, I want to see you show up and show me a nice colored palette. Like what your friend did. Debugger false. Test explorer. And then debug test. And he should fire up and we should see the colored boxes again. That's the goal. That's the goal. At some point I might get fancy and make the boxes bigger or something, but yeah. That looks worse, not better. Let's just confirm what we're looking at. So our wrap panel has a whole bunch of things, and if we look at the background color of all of these, it did not set the theme appropriately. Lovely. Okay. Show. Let's come back here, and I would like to look at this method, and I would like to promote you, and I would like to turn debugging back on for the remote host. And then let's go and see why that didn't do what I expected. Because we should have landed on that new overload. Okay, so base theme. Oh, base theme is set to inherit. Oh. What was base theme doing if... How was it figuring out the base theme? Let's see. Oh, this. Get base theme. Ah ha 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 ha. This is what we need. Got it. We need to do this. So the default case, we just do an or. We'll just do a case inherit when no, I think we're gonna go down here and just do something like if. Boy, I really wish I could recurse this thing. Oh, probably should do it while debugging. We'll just double switch it. It's kind of ugly, but thank you, Copilot. Show off. Yeah, I don't like it that much, but ugh. I don't like it that much, but it's at the moment. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. Just got to remember that. Come on. This time, colored boxes. All I want. Colored boxes. Hallelujah. That is what we want to see. Okay. So now that that's working, let's go axe the rest of the stuff. Well, hold on. Let's do a commit first. Getting the custom theme, getting the bundled theme resource dictionary working. Okay, so I should probably start killing some of the old APIs so that I stop. So I'm forced to then go and fix it. So bundled theme, custom color theme is going to be basically the same boat, where it's going to do the same thing. We're going to just get rid of that. Yeah, because the only difference is this one does a lookup on the enum. This one just passes the color straight through. Great, great. Let's axe base theme, I think. How many references do you have? Enough to be obnoxious. Well, we'll start by deleting you. And then we'll go to delete you. Which makes me feel like I am on the right path for a better design. In general, if I can delete code and add functionality, you know you're doing something right. Okay. So that should cause just a handful of compile errors. And then we're going to go chase those down. So that'll probably clean up a bunch of this. Okay, so you and you are going to die. We no longer need you. We no longer need you. I probably should be killing off most of these things as well. Yeah, so your usages are all going to drop real quick. Once we get rid of the APIs that use it, that gets rid of that, that gets rid of that. Okay, that makes life a lot easier. A lot easier. Did I ever turn on the accelerated build? Oh, I did turn on the accelerated build. Oh, I should turn that on. Okay, so now let's look at what we've got. Set base theme. Value. So this thing then just becomes base theme dark and base theme light. Boom, done. Base theme dark, base theme light, done. Next one's probably identical. Boom, boom. Yep. Yep. Thank you, IntelliCode. You are awesome. Okay. Did we get most of them? It's a good chunk of them. Let's see. Is dark. Hold on. What are we doing here? That base theme is dark. Base theme dark. Otherwise, base theme light. That seems like a better API. That's cleaned up. Okay. Verify light colors and theme. this entire test gets to die, I think. Yeah, those are all dead. This is dead. This is dead. This entire thing is worthless now. Excellent. Oh, I love deleting code. Oh, it's like spring cleaning when you have a huge mess and you finally get it cleaned up and you feel so much better. That's what deleting code feels like. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. So this is looking, what is this trying to do here? When all values are set, theme is set. This is trying to verify that the theme comes out. This is looking to make sure that the light theme value is set from the body. Come back to that in a moment. So I haven't necessarily set a clean way of doing that yet. Let's see here. This is once again another is dark ternary. Let's see, base theme dark. Else base theme light. Cleaned up, cleaned up. Okay, so it's just that one test where I'm not entirely clear that I have a replacement API for it. So basically the same test, only in two different places, verifying that the resource dictionaries apply their themes appropriately. So this thing, when it calls get theme, it is expected to pull it out. And really what we want to check is just to verify that the body brush was set is the sum total. And really these things should be using a generated test. Now that I can generate the list of these brushes to make sure they're all set. Honestly, because these are so... Somebody wanted to get the... Because the body is like the foreground text. So if somebody wanted to pull that off of the light theme, what would be the appropriate API to do that with? So we've just kind of deleted the easy way of getting access to that. What is the best way of doing that? Because we have a way of setting the theme. I mean, so I think the easiest way is set light theme. Right, so our light theme. I'm just worried that this is a little bit recursive in the test of, but this is the generated method. So I think the idea being that it's not default and it's equal, I think is the way to do this. Light theme, and it's not going to be body, it's going to be like foreground. Where did this come from? I do wonder if I should make these things equatable. Would anybody want to equate themes by value? I mean, I kind of do in a test. I don't know if that's a valuable functionality for people. Because if I do that, oh, I really can't make them records. Dang it. So the drawback with records, specifically, well, if I don't use positional records, I think I can get away with it. Because the init keyword, you have to assume that people are operating under a version that supports it, and I still support yield versions of C#. So let's do that, I think. Hey, Papa, how you doing? Okay, I think... I'm not sure I love it, but I think it'll work. Doing well. I'm poking away at the material design theming stuff for the 5.0 release and deleting code as I go. It's going to be a breaking change for a lot of people, but hopefully not that big of a break. I think most people are just using the public APIs or the big obvious APIs and not doing a lot of lower stuff. Because I had a bunch of convenience methods that I suspect most people are probably using. And I think that's probably the... I mean, it's a major version rev of the library, so people should expect breaking changes, but I always try to mitigate the pain as much as I can. Because nobody likes to try to rev a library and then realize they've got 2,000 compile errors and have to spend days of cleanup. That just kills adoption. But we just deleted a bunch of code, so that makes me feel better. So let's see. Removed I base theme. Interface dead. That is much more convenient. Okay, so let's go back and make sure that the other test works, and then I think that's getting us in a lot better shape. So I've got a little CLI app that is it's not using source generators, only because some of the stuff that I want to generate is XAML files, and you can't use a C# source generator to generate a XAML file. Because the XAML compile happens before the C# compile, which is when the C# source generators run. So to get your XAML file included, you have to generate it before that point. So it's mildly obnoxious. So, and in theory, most of these files aren't going to change that much. I've just got, basically, I've been defining out my theme brushes like this, so that they're simple and easy to work with, and then, in theory, only when this thing changes will those other files going to be changed. Don't worry about it, Papa. I usually warn people that I can talk for hours about coding, even if I'm talking to myself. My poor colleagues have to deal with me just chatting away. Yeah, Justin Bieber, I looked at T4, and I've used it in the past. This just felt a little bit easier to me. So it's, yeah, like T4 is fine, but in my case, sometimes it's just easier to read in a JSON file and do the manipulation in C#. Yeah, I can understand it. There are certainly days where coding is, it feels like a frustration and a chore, but for me, it is also my relaxation activity. So people think I'm weird because I will People think I'm weird. I am definitely weird. Let's see. We're going to do that. Clean this up because we don't need all that. What are you unhappy about? Oh, double escape. There we are. Although I didn't help myself by picking an old language. How old did you go? Like C? Or are we talking ye olden days like COBOL or Pascal, or how old can we go? Heaven forbid, COBOL. I was gonna say it could have been worse. It could have been punch cards. It could have definitely been worse. Fortran as well. Ah, there's the one I miss. Yeah, though people who have there's only a handful of places that hire like COBOL and Fortran developers, but the places that are still stuck on COBOL and Fortran, like they're really stuck and they pay really well. Like I've heard some ridiculous numbers that some old COBOL developers are like, yeah, why would I update? I make six figures and usually like $300,000-$400,000. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? That's like, it's because there's, no one out that does it. So it's like, man, for that dollar figure, I might have to go learn COBOL and Fortran. Let's see. Okay. Oh, that's right. I was going back to my test. That's where I was going. Oh, thanks for the follow, Papa. I appreciate it. Okay. We have some tests that we were doing. Hey, why is the test red? Test should be green now. Run. Oh, I probably terminated it there. That's okay. Good. Whew! Sigh of relief. Okay. Unit test should be green. Okay, so let's go in here and we're gonna slap on. We want to test light. We want to test dark theme as well, because dark theme is a thing. Dark. And then we want to test the Fortran book from 1973. That's pretty cool. My mother-in-law has one of the original Macs from, I forget how old. I usually poke fun at Macs as often as I can. She asked me a few weeks ago, she's like, if I let you inherit the Mac, will you promise to not get rid of it? And I'm like, okay. I make fun of Macs, yes, but this thing is a genuine antique, and it's in fairly good condition. She took good care of it. She used to work at is it a marketing? No, a radio station. Doing marketing, I think is what it was. And I forget what year she said she had it in. Before I was born. Which isn't okay. I'd like to say which isn't saying much, but I've slowly been, you're starting, like, I don't feel that old, but people keep making comments that make me feel old. That's how it's gone this week. It's like I shouldn't be. Using custom color theme. And then we want this to be custom color theme. There we go. And I don't remember what the thing is. It was whatever I had in the demo app I wanted to test. Yeah, learn C for when I mess with Unix. It definitely is. I will say learning C is... it feels like a very worthwhile endeavor. It's one of those, because it's at the core of so many languages. Depending on what you're trying to do on Unix, C++ might be a little bit easier. Like, C++ is still close to the metal but it's not like true ANSI C. Okay, so this is base theme light. I don't want to do that. I want to do base theme inherit. Oh, that's actually going to be a problem, isn't it? I always knew it's Bruce. I said an antique Mac fan. Antique. There's a difference. Oh, interesting. So the way I've tested this, it doesn't actually matter if it's light or dark. Just that the brush is set. It's recorded now. Back from 91. Yeah, I'm trying to remember which. Because she's shown it to me, and it is ye tiny screen. But yes, she did make me promise to not get rid of it, which I did. Like, don't worry, we will guard it. Okay, so make sure the new tests run. And in theory, this whole theming thing should just work. There we go. There we go. Colorful boxes! Colorful boxes! Yes! Apple II SI. Look. Yeah, this doesn't quite match. Yeah, this is somewhat similar to the one that she has. It's somewhere in this vicinity. This isn't exactly right, but it's of the images I'm seeing, this kind of thing here is very similar. So hers must be an Apple II or similar as well. It is, well, hang on, let me think. I'm trying to remember now. Yes. Yes, color. Yes, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Some occasionally I get my memories confused. When I at a long time ago, before I actually got a job in software development, I worked at a motorcycle shop, and I did they found out that I was tech savvy, and at a motorcycle shop, pretty much no one there is tech savvy ever, at least in my area. I worked with several different shops, and no one there knows computers at all. So it didn't take much to be the techie, but I was working with an old Unix server, and they would use Wise 50 dumb terminals. And these things were just a beast to deal with. Yeah. These ugly things. These were a pain. Though the keyboards we had actually had the old school function buttons all the way up to F24. Mac Classic. Oh, yes. Yes, this is looking much closer. This is looking closer. I think so. I want to say like this M0420. But now I'm wondering if my brain is playing tricks on what I remember. I want to say that. No, not the colored shell, because I remember those back from the. Even though I was homeschooled, I took classes at one of the local public schools, and they had the old school colored shell ones, and not that. But yes, the off-white beige. Yeah, I think I want to say there. Yes. Yes. Oh, believe me. Yeah, I really did not like those things. Those things were such a pain. Oh, the ugly G3 colored shell ones. Trying to get my hands on one. I loved it. Oh, I remember we went in, because so I was homeschooled all the way up until like 10th grade. Um, but we would go, but because homeschoolers in our area had, like, you could almost do school a la carte, where you could go in and take whatever classes you wanted. So we would go in and do like art classes or robotics or things like that, where it wasn't necessarily always easy to do at home. Um, and I remember the robotics class we took, we spent more time fighting with that Mac, getting it to control this stupid little robot arm, than actually like programming it. Oh, we got really good going through the manual, and like a buddy of mine and I, we would sit there and we would read the manual. And I think by the end of the year, the teacher would just have us fix it, because it's like, you guys have actually read the whole book. It's like, yeah, out of frustration, we only read it because we couldn't make it work. Okay, cool. I think I like where that landed. Let's put that in. Themes. Yeah. Uh, Last of the cleanup and remaining tests. Okay, so I think I'm gonna push this. This is pretty close. I am I am getting very close to saying I want to merge 5.0 into the main branch and ship it. Or at least get it merged in and say that 5.0 is going to be the next release. I've been kind of dragging my feet, because if something comes up in the current release, I want to be able to kick a 4.9 without too much hassle. But I can always back up and branch off a prior commit or something if that becomes an issue. Um, I think the only other thing that is remaining is I was going to deal with. So I want to put in an MS build task, because I don't think I want to check in those files. I'm trying to decide whether I want the process to be, if somebody edits this thing, that they have to go run this command line manually, or if I want it to be automatic and have it just magically kick off. Because MS Build does a remarkably good job. If you point it at a set of input files and a set of output files, it actually keeps track of like last modified dates on the files, and will conditionally run if something's out of date, which is like perfect. You just have to tell it, here's my input thingies, here's my output thingies, do the rest, right? Figure out where I go in the build orders, figure out if I need to run, which is perfect. And so I was contemplating setting that up, because ultimately the input is this thing here. The problem is the outputs are spread across multiple projects, and MS Build runs on a per project basis. So it would have to reevaluate that at every project. And I'm wondering if that just becomes problematic. I almost wonder if maybe I should axe that idea. I might end up axing it. This may end up becoming a lost cause of just not bothering to generate it. I think then one of the other things too, though, is I would like to nest the generated files under it. So for example, we've got this theme extensions and theme extensions G right here. These guys. The whole tree structure here in Visual Studio is customizable. And what I'd love to do is say, if something ends in a .g.cs extension, nest it underneath the thing above it. Because most of the time, people shouldn't be touching the generated files anyway. Like, they're set up, they're marked as auto-generated, they look like auto-generated files. I think Yeah, I should also probably make sure nullability's turned on for all of them too. Because you could do it right here, couldn't you? Yeah, I'm wondering if I just tack it onto my header. That's probably an easy win. Just do it right there, but I'm wondering, I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot by doing it. Whatever, we're doing it. We're doing it. It'll bite me. Let's see. So I want to go here. I want to go here. I want to go pound global enable, and then I want to hunt wherever else I put this in, because I think I put it in other places. Whack that, because doesn't need to live in multiple places. Oh, it's just there. Okay, great. Regen. Because I am planning on checking in all of these files. So it turns nullability on, turns nullability. Oh, that's what I didn't do. I didn't go clean up the theme class. I need to kill off all those old brushes. Yeah, so pretty much all of you should be dead now. If you aren't, you're about to be. I am still trying to decide if I want to move these primary and secondary ones into some sort of generated area too. Okay, paper is still set here. What is going on with you? So this is for the color adjustment. If this comes in and color adjustment says to adjust, it wants to set it onto the background color. So this is fine. We can easily update these. Those go there. So this is actually one of the features that I was most proud of, that I think it kind of skirts over people's eyes a lot, is you can pick one of the built-in color themes from material design, and they're going to have a reasonable contrast between your background and foreground. But I also let people, because sometimes people have like graphics designers and whatnot, and they don't like the 13 or whatever built-in color themes, and they want to do their own colors. Great, fine. Style it, make it look how you want. So I have this custom color theme that you can specify. But one of the drawbacks to custom colors, or even sometimes if you let the users pick their own colors, right? If they pick white as their foreground and white as their background, that looks like crap. You can't see anything. I do have this color adjustment option that can get set. And what that'll end up doing is it will take the colors and it'll tweak your primary and secondary colors and turn them either darker or lighter to achieve an acceptable contrast ratio between the foreground and background. So the material design project has, you can see the default is 4.5. There's a nice IEEE document about how to calculate color ratios and what's the appropriate size for large text like a heading or small text like book content or similar. So if file scope the namespace while I'm in here. So if you care more about legibility than exact color values, I suggest turning it on. But some people are really picky. They're like, no, we're a designer, darn it. Don't touch our colors. Leave them alone. Okay, great. It's an opt-in feature. Just don't opt in. Problem solved. And you can have whatever colors you want. But if you care about legibility and don't care as much about colors, you can turn it on. I tend to leave it on, especially if I let users pick their own color themes. That way, it kind of it protects the user from themselves of saying, oh, I can customize it, but I can't shoot myself in the foot and make my foreground and background match or something. Okay, I think we're going to go with that. And I think I may have just talked myself into the idea of just making this thing a documented tool that if you change the brushes, you have to go and run it. I think I'm going to axe that for now. I might circle back to it. We'll see. And these ones, I'm trying to decide if I end up updating or not. Because these ones here, the secondary ones, the only reason these are being done kind of weird like this is because previously the secondary brushes didn't have this stuff, and so this is smoothing over older keys to make backwards compatibility work. But I'm somewhat tempted to burn those down too and force them to update. We'll look at that at a later point. That'll be a look at it at a later point. More cleanup. Okay, I think with that, I'm going to jump back. We'll go and review tonight's brain teaser, and then I may call it. Because it's 11:30 my time, and I've got a 7 a.m. call. So the 7 a.m. call is being recorded and will be posted probably the week of the 28th. So that'll be, I will share that when it comes out. Okay. So tonight's brain teaser was a great one. So for anyone who wasn't around at the beginning, Stephen Taub has posted possibly one of the greatest blog posts of his that I have ever read. And he's written quite a few good ones. He is, I think, potentially the best possible person in the world to learn async and await in C# from. I don't know how many people would fight me on that. He is excellent. But as you can see, this is not a blog post. This is a short novel. So if you want to dive very deep, he goes all the way through the history of what is the feature, how did we get here, how all the internals work. It is absolutely gold. So if the title excites you, the rest of the content will be amazing. If the title makes you want to like turn and run screaming, I recommend you not waste your time reading it. Anyway, for the brain teaser, we have a very simple unit test here where we instantiate a new object. We then promptly await the object to get a string back, and then we assert that the string is, oh, no, 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 which is quite simple, in fact. Now, the goal here is to make this unit test not only compile, but pass, but you're not allowed to edit the unit test in any way. So that's the brain teaser. I'll give people, 5 seconds if you want to pause the video before I throw spoilers at you. Oh, if you would like, before I do that, boom. If anybody wants to pause and go look at the repo, there's the repo for it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, solutioning time. Okay, so the magical solution here looks like this. Is we declare a new static class, and the reason it's a static class is because we're going to put an extension method inside of it. And extension methods can only live inside of static classes. In this case, we're going to do an extension method called getAwaiter with the target type of object. So you'll note we now magically compile. So the idea with async and await is when you await an object, you can only await an awaitable thingy. That's not the technical word. Stephen Taub has much better words. So I think he uses task-like object. But the emphasis is the like. It's not tied to a particular type that you can await. And the reason they did this was for backwards compatibility. They wanted to be able to bring this type of async and await pattern to objects that were never intended to have it. And especially things in some of the lower level libraries, you can't really make a lot of changes to them without people freaking out or risk of breaking changes, which is why they allow you to do the extension methods, which is awesome, right? So we can now await our object. And the rule is the method has to be called getAwaiter, and it has to return an awaitable thingy, right? And an awaitable thingy is classified as something that implements iNotifyCompletion, which the iNotifyCompletion interface is just this method. And as you can see, my implementation isn't exactly brilliant. It must have a property called isCompleted, which in my case, we're just setting it to true. And then it must have a method called getResult. If you are doing this for an async method where you don't want a return value, effectively you want the equivalent of like async task type behavior, your getResult just becomes void. And in fact, I can show that because if I do void there and Let's go something like that, right? This now squawks and goes, you can't convert void to string, which is pretty cool, right? So, so in this case, we've just hard coded our get result to return the string that we want. Now we run our test. And test goes green. Yay, passing test. So there's the solution. You can await anything you want as long as it meets these awaitable requirements. And for a ton more details, see Stephen Taub's amazing blog post. I cannot speak highly enough of it. So that is the brain teaser. I will push the solution branch up. At some point, I'm going to record a video with that information in it and add it to the main and all that stuff. But for those people who haven't seen it, there is, if you enjoy these brain teasers, I have been posting them inside of this repository. All of the brain teasers are in their own branch, with the answer being in a hyphen solution. So you can bounce between them, and if you want the full list, it's down in the README on the main branch. So, and I've been, some of these have YouTube videos hooked to them already, where I go through and walk through the explanations. So if you are interested in any of those, YouTube links at the top, and then right in the video description is a link to the entire playlist. So if you want to see all of the ones I've recorded so far, and I've been putting out a new one every Wednesday. We'll see how long that lasts.